What's up, everybody? Hope you've had a great 2024. We're coming up on the end of it, and I've had the chance to get my hands on a ton of great gear this year. So now I'm gonna go through and tell you my top 3 favorite things that I've made videos on in the year of our Lord, 2024. Let's do it. So this list is going to include anything that I made a video on in 2024. It doesn't necessarily mean that the product came out in 2024. It's just something that I created content with. And I'm not going to include the Looptrotter Saturamp 2, which is behind me on my desk, and I've been using it for a couple months now, and I've had a video in editing purgatory because let's face it, Christmas is crazy, all right? So those videos will come out eventually on the Saturamp 2. But for now, I'm just gonna go through all the videos that I've done in 2024. And in case you don't remember what those are, which I know is not you, I'm sure you have seen all of them and loved each of them. But just in case, here's a quick look back.
Number 3.
All right, without further ado, my number 3 most, okay, hold on a second. I gotta take this off. My number 3 most favorite thing of the year 2024. That is the Audient NERO monitor controller. Now, if you found my channel in 2024, there's like a 25% chance that you found it because you were looking up monitor controllers. And that's because my studio grew so much this year that my old controller just wasn't keeping up. So I had just added last year the Cranbourne Audio 500R8, and then the Kali LP6s, and then I started rocking a sub, and I needed something that could do all of those. Plus, I've had a lot of new artists come in, and I needed to be able to do multiple headphone mixes. So I went through the Big Knob Studio, the PreSonus monitor station. Thankfully, I got eventually to the Audient NERO, and it fit all of my needs. As far as one piece of gear that has had the most impact on my workflow in my studio, it's gotta be the NERO. It's changed so much about the way that I monitor and the way that I do headphone distribution. It is really a great monitor controller, and I highly recommend it.
Number 2.
My number 2 most favorite piece of gear of 2024 is the IK Multimedia ARRC Studio room correction system. Now, I knew my room wasn't perfect, but I didn't realize how much room correction was going to drastically improve the sound in my room. Now, I had been looking into room correction for a while, but all the hardware that was available was way too expensive, and I didn't want to get plug-in room correction because I wanted it to apply to things that I was listening to outside of my DAW as well. So when I saw IK Multimedia drop the ARRC Studio, I had to try it. I got it as quickly as I could. Got it in, it was super easy to set up, and as soon as I listened to it, I immediately knew I was not sending it back. It was gonna be permanent in my studio. So like the NERO, this is one of the things that I use every day. It's one of those always on pieces of gear. And between the NERO and the ARRC Studio, my studio has changed so much from 2023, it's barely recognizable.
See, even my dog loves watching my videos. Make sure you hit that subscribe and notification button. That way you can catch them as soon as they come out.
Okay, before I get to my number 1 most favorite piece of gear of 2024, I want to give an honorable mention real quick. Like I said earlier, I had so much great gear in 2024. Manufacturers were really generous with me, sending me stuff, and then I also bought a lot of stuff as well. It's really hard to narrow it down to just 3, so I do want to give a mention to Kali LP6s. You see those behind me. I just put those in earlier this year, and they sounded great out of the box, but then when you combine them with the ARRC Studio, they rivaled my much more expensive HS8s. So really great speakers, especially if you're on a budget. They didn't make my top 3 of the year, but I did want to give them a mention.
Number 1.
Now on to my number 1 favorite piece of gear of the year 2024. That was the Looptrotter Saturamp 500. That's right, we all know audio engineers love their preamps. It's one of our best tools to color the sound on the way into our converters or our DAW, whatever we're using to record. I was lucky enough to find them somewhere out on the internet, did some research on them, really liked what they were about, specialize in saturation and analog sounds. Reached out to them, and that's when they sent me their Saturamp 500. It's their 500 series preamp with a built-in saturation circuit. I put it on vocals and guitar and immediately fell in love with it. Now, I've used more preamps than I can even count over all my years recording, but I can honestly say right now that the Saturamp 500 is my top most favorite preamp. I love putting it on everything I can in every session that I can. Now, if you haven't heard of Looptrotter, I do recommend you go check them out, and I cannot recommend the Saturamp 500 enough. So that was it. What'd you think of my list? Did I forget something? You disagree with me on something? Did some piece of gear come out in 2024 that I should have mentioned but I never got my hands on? Go ahead and leave a comment down below. You know I love to read them, and I'll get back to each one as I can. Also, everything that I mentioned today has its own video, which I will link in the description below. I'd love it if you guys go and check those out. I hope the year 2024 was good to you, and I look forward to seeing you all in the year 2025.